Hey, howdy, how are ya? Today, I would like to tell the story of the Great Alaskan to California drive. So I put my properties up for rent, packed the car, Subaru, with my girlfriend at the time, a little wiener dog, and a turtle. And in December in Alaska, 2013, a bunch of us got in the car and we're moving to Northern California. And 85% of the entire trip is Canada. Like, Canada is so damn big, like unbelievably large. Canada is. And the Yukon territory, Canada's broke up into provinces or territory, whatever, you know what I mean? We have states, they have provinces, whatever. Anyway, the main one we drove through was the Yukon territory, and it's so massive. The whole trip's 4,000 miles, and Canada's roughly 3,000, give or take. So we're in Alaska. I think it's like a Wednesday. We're leaving, just the trip from where I am in Alaska to the Canadian border is a solid day driving. It's a long ways. So we get about 2 hours out of town. It's dark, it's cold, 40 below zero outside. So we're just on our road trip. The girlfriend and I, we just take all our clothes off. Her and I both get completely naked, and we're just like enjoying each other. Like, where I was at in a relationship with this woman, her name is Sarah, and it was amazing just how awesome we were at the time. Really invested in each other, really loved each other. There was no secrets, there was no shame, there was no nothing, just love, straight up love, and her and I together. And it was just, you know what I mean? Like, now in my life, after being with more different women and older women, and I can look back and just really know how fortunate I was to have such an amazing time being with Sarah. Saritha Chris is her name. You know what I mean? I have nothing but love and admiration for her. Still, I wish her the best. You know what I mean? I would do anything for her. I hope she's a million times happy wherever she is in her life. I don't know. We lost touch. But I think she got married, maybe had a kid or something. Wherever she's at, I hope is exactly where she wants to be, and it's amazing. And anyways, when we were together, anything goes. Like, we were just naked driving to Northern California, and we just touch each other, and we had the dog and the turtle. So, we drove naked all the way up. So I had to get gas before I went to the Canadian border. So we're naked at the pull into this gas station. I think it was like 8 a.m. the next day, because we left on, we're still in Alaska. I pulled up to the pump and just tapped the horn. Eventually, this kid comes out, like a helper, and I do the old "fill her up, sonny." And I threw him a $100 bill and told him to fill her up. Said to keep the change. So right away he didn't, he saw that we were naked, and thank God Sarah was with me, because he was happy to see her naked, because she looked awesome naked. You know what I mean? Just that youth. Oh, she's a beautiful, beautiful person, inside and out, completely gorgeous. I really have nothing but fond memories with that girl, and I really, I was an asshole in my late 20s, you know, dude. I mean, I definitely should have treated her better, and you know what I mean? Like, I mean, she was just an amazing, loving, caring, fun, agreeable, joyful person. You know what I mean? Looked good naked, loved to have sex, anything goes, anything. Just awesome. Perfect for what I needed at the light. Anyways, we get our gas. You know, we're still practically day one leaving Alaska. You know, it was like 600 miles just to the Canadian border. And then how you know you're getting close to the Canadian border is the road just disappears. The road turned into like this maze of just gravel. It's like the United States and Alaska, you know, just finishes giving a shit. And they're like, yeah, Canada, this 30-mile stretch, yeah, it's your problem. You pay, you deal with it. You take your equipment, you know, hundreds of miles out of your way where there's absolutely nothing, literal nothing out on that border. You know what I mean? Like, what a pain in the ass to build road out there. You know, to haul all the crew and to do whatever it takes to build roads out there is immensely expensive and time, you know, not easy to do. So Alaska's like, yeah, you deal with it. Canada's like, yeah, you deal with it. So nobody deals with it. And it's just this lumpy, misshapen, missing road in the winter, 40 below. I mean, it's snow plowed. Like, a plow will come plow it, but that's it. So there's no lines, there's no paint, you know, it's basically packed snow. Not necessarily ice, but if you slammed on your brakes while you're driving 55, you know, nothing's gonna happen. Your car is just gonna slide. So your driving has to be really thought out and careful and planned, and you know, you ease into stuff and you slow down, you know, you really pay attention. And I did, you know, my car stick shift, and you know, Sarah was, you know, I did all the driving through the northern part of Canada because it was really sketchy. You know, you're driving on basically a trail. You know, the snow plows the snow off it, and then it snows also, so there's no markers. You just kind of have to eyeball with your headlights, like, just stay in the middle of the road. And I did a pretty damn good job of this up until when we started to get out of the shitty northern Yukon roads. I had one epic fuck up, and boy was it epic, and you guys are gonna love to hear about it. You know what I mean? Pretty much, I was looking like this, but down at Sarah. I was sitting in the car, looking, you know what I mean? I was looking over here, but she was literally like, the car was perpendicular or whatever, not level. But that's coming, you know, further in the story. It's good too. So we're in this no man's land. We're like, okay, we're close to the border because the road's just a freaking bog mire. Missing in places, like snow frost heaves is a thing, like the permafrost tundra. That's what the road's built on. And where it's at, you know, that freezes, and in the summer it thaws and freezes. So you get ground that's freezing solid, thawing, freezing. It does weird stuff. There's not really much you can do about it. The road just kind of moves around and falls apart and crumbles and sinkholes, and you just kind of, you know, you go through it. There's barely, you know, you're going to pass. In the daytime, you're probably passing one car every 20, 30 minutes. And at nighttime, you're passing one car maybe an hour. You'll drive an hour in northern part of Canada, not see one house, not see one car, one human. All you see is just intense wildlife. That's it. Nothing around. And I got to tell you guys, if you've never experienced it, it's a good feeling. It's, you know, I grew up, born and raised in Alaska, so my natural feel-good place is, you know, away from this shit, away from the metropolis, away from cities and concrete, mayhem and people and traffic. You know, I like the woods. I feel comfortable in the woods. You know, like growing up in Alaska, and the canoe trips and the insane, crazy hunting, camping, hiking trips we've done, canoe trips, like, I've floated down a river with some buddies, you know, so far from civilization, Like, you drive so far to this area on the river where you put in, you know what I mean, and you go down the river as much as you can, and then wherever you end up, you call and you get somebody. You do whatever it takes to get out of there. You'll have somebody waiting or whatever, leave a vehicle sometimes. But going down this river, it goes so far away from civilization or humans or cars. You're on this river that's just taking you. It's such an exhilarating feeling, especially at dark midnight. Because in Alaska, it's light all summer, light all day. The sun will set barely. It'll still be light enough, In the height of the solstice or whatever, mid-June, like, you could drive a car and never have to use headlights. That's the extent of the light. So like 2-3 a.m. is probably the dimmest, but it's still light enough to where you don't need headlights on your car. You can drive and see just fine. It's kind of crazy. You still turn them on, of course, because it's dim, but you don't need them. So anyway, being in the summer floating down these rivers, you're so far away from civilization. And I and the friends I was with, we had no problem, even in the fall when it gets dark, pulling over on the side of this river in God knows wherever, and just hiking inwards in the deepest, darkest, densest forest you ever could imagine, so far from humanity. Like, I love that. That made me feel good. You know what I mean? I enjoyed that. Just hiking in, knowing just no human being has ever set foot or looked in this spot ever in the existence of the earth. That's guaranteed in some of these places. No human has ever set foot. We would be there and just traipsing in these dense. One time, the weather was so bad on this river, it was just hammering rain. It's 1:30 a.m. and this was in the fall time where it gets dark. It's really dark. It's in the fall. It's raining. We're completely soaked. The bottom of the canoe has 8 inches of standing water in your ankles. You know what I mean? But we're seasoned in camping, so we got dry bag. We got gear. Like, you get a dry bag with all your sleeping bag and necessities in there rolled up is a key. But we're prepared. We got ribeye steaks we're gonna cook, and it's downpouring rain. Everything is soaked, right? So we get to where an easier spot on the river. You can drag your canoes up out of the water so they're safe. Turn them upside down. Throw what gear you don't need when you're there's shit you can leave with the canoe. Turn it upside down, kind of nestles shit. Put the goods under the canoe, and then you just hike with the minimal wherever you want to go. So we would hike, an hour or so in the woods, and we still hammering rain. We're starving, soaked to the bone. And the cool thing about it is even in those conditions, you can 100% set up an area, set up a camp, and have a burning fire, a warm fire, to dry yourself out and have your tent set up. You can find dry wood and just totally live in the luxury. Set up a little tarp so the rain ain't hitting you, and then the campfire radiates heat in your little area, and everybody dry. It was amazing. We all dried out, cooking ribeyes over the. Meanwhile, it's still downpouring. But what you do is these forests are so dense, you find just trees, clusters of trees, big. The bigger the better. And trees have canopies and layers, and it goes down. Some of them have canopies, layers, all the way to the ground, and then some, down into the ground through the brush. And what you do is you find one of those with a bunch of group of other trees around it, and you kind of you dig your way into the trunk. You go towards the trunk of a tree that has all its layers of canopies, down in there, and you slowly, you have a saw and you cut some of the bigger ones off, up head height, so you kind of like build a cave essentially in a cluster of trees. And all the wood in there, all the grass, all the bark in there is bone dry. Totally, it's awesome. Everything, the ground is dry. Complete. It can be hammering rain, wind, as hard as you can think. If you go deep and dark enough and far enough in these woods, you'll find a canopy where you can do that. And it's amazing. It's so awesome. And you can set up, our tents were low to the ground, nothing fancy. You don't need huge tents. So we'd set up our gear there. We'd have essentially a mansion in the forest for a setup. We're in shorts, kick back, we got a nice little fire, you know, a small fire in that canopy area with ventilation just right. Because behind you, also in this little cave setup, you dig a tunnel about enough to where you could crawl through on your belly and get out the other way. But you dig that tunnel down low, and what that does is creates a draft. And then above too, also you look above wherever the fire is, you kind of make a chimney sort of scent. You make a exhaust to the open air. You know what I mean? So your fire can burn, and it like reflects off the foliage around you and your tent. You know what I mean? Like it's essentially awesomely warm and dry. You know, and you make it as big as you need it for all of us to just kick back in shorts and just hang socks. And we got this perfect size fire with dry wood, and we got that little tunnel I was telling you about. So there's a draft. The air just kind of comes in and goes up. So all of the smoke, if you build the right fire with the right shit, there isn't even a lot of smoke. So really, you got some yellow flames and a lot of coals, and it's a perfect setup for cooking and just getting warm and just loving life. Like, 30 minutes ago, you were soaked to the wrinkled. You'd hold up your hand and it looked like a freaking, just so soaked and wrinkled in your feet, and you just feel so shit, and under your nuts and your ass is just so wet for hours sitting and shit. So you strip all that off, and just steam rolls, after that fire, like steam comes off all your bodies, and it's just so awesome. So we ate, that's all I'll talk about that particular thing. But yeah, so I have no problem being in the woods. So we started to get back to the story. We're naked, Sarah and I, with our little dog and a turtle in the Subaru, packed to the gills with our life, moving to Northern California. Excuse me. So we're in the no man's land, and it's nasty. And it's kind of funny how they do it. Like the border from Alaska to Canada, like imagine the line, like someone drew okay, this is it, this is us, and that's you. That line is about 13 miles wide, I'd say. 14, 15 miles wide. That line, you know what I mean? It's fucking wide. Like the U.S. border check is here with its setup and powered by United States, with United States infrastructure and roads and water and, parking lots. That's the United States, right? This is us. Then there's 15 miles of dog shit, tundra, nothing, essentially zero. Not a gas station, not a street light, not a power line, nothing. Barely pavement. Like, actually, no, I think that stretch, there's no pavement. Could be now, who knows? The military built that access back in 40s or 50s, all the way, one shot to Alaska. Yeah, it was pretty cool. That's a great story, too, how they built that. But anyway, that no man's land, there's 15 miles between the border houses. So, and when you leave Alaska, you just drive by it. They don't give you, you're leaving. Why do we care? So then we see the Canadian, border check, everything funnels into there. You have to go through it. There's no, of course, it's a border check. They want to know who's coming in their country. And I've heard stories of guys not having their stuff together and trying to go through the border. Like, if you have a DWI, they don't want you in their country. Like, Canada does not want shitheads in their country whatsoever. If you got felonies, no, they don't want you in your country. If you have light misdemeanor crimes, you're good. But a felony, you're really, really rolling the dice. And they're probably not letting you through. Because a DWI, I don't think a DWI is a felony. Unless it's really, really hardcore, like your third one. But yeah, DWI, they don't want you in their country. You can, depending on their mood, you can get by with one DWI or one fuck up on your criminal, one thing on your record. As long as it's not too bad, they may let you through, but how they do it is they take $350 right away just for even beginning the process. They want $350. Then they hand you this mail, a piece of mail, and it's extremely important if you ever want to do business with Canada or be in the Canadians' good graces. If you have a light record and you want to get through and you convince them that, hey, I'm not gonna be in your country very long. I'm not doing anything else but traveling through your country to the United States. I'm going to buy gas, stay at your hotels, and I'm just going to be a good human, not do crimes in your country and be an asshole. And I'm just going to drive through it, enjoy it, and go to the United States. I have one, light crime, DWI. They'll let you through. You give them the $350. You never get that back. You pay that to them. They hand you mail. You fill out half of it. They tear it off. You fill out the rest of it, and then they give that to you, and you have to keep that. And what that is when you leave their country, as soon as you leave Canada and you're in the United States, you put that in the mail. Like, whatever they gave you, you drop in the mailbox. That gets mailed back to Canada, and essentially is proof that, hey, I did what I said I was going to do. I left your state. My criminal dumbass is no longer in Canada. They're very strict on it. They don't want shitheads there. It's kind of cool. I actually think it's a good idea. But anyways, you mail in that mail proves you are no longer in their country, and they like that. That's how they do it. That's how they do business. I've heard lots of stories of guys drive all the way to the Canadian border, and they say, get out. They're like, hell no. They're like, why would you think we would let you into our country? You have fucking crimes out the ass, your beard, you stink, there's weed everywhere in your car, I just don't like you, your teeth are brown, I'm not even gonna look up your record, because you just look like a person that I don't want in my fucking country, and they have the discretion to say that. So wholeheartedly, that person right there has absolute authority to, for whatever reason, say, no, you are not coming in our country. And that's kind of cool. I think it's funny. I've never had a problem. And you know what's really weird is a couple times, I've been through it like 4 or 5 times. A couple of times I've been through it, they didn't even check. Like, I handed them my passport, and they did the old thumb through it quickly, and just kind of looked, and then did their rundown of questions, and then just, hey, have a good day. They didn't even check a record, which was kind of odd. You'd think that they would do that every time, being they're sticklers, but so we're at the border. This particular time on this trip with Sarah and I did put a t-shirt on. I told her bra only though. It's like, put your bra only on. But I'm doing t-shirt, nude the rest of it. You're going in your bra. And I think this is a good idea. Anyway, she refused and she put her t-shirt on. You know what I mean? And I think I was fingering her pretty good as we were rolling up. As we wheeled up to the border check, I had a finger 2 inches up inside her. I don't know why that's important. Funny to me. See, that's just how awesome this relationship was with this girl. I rolled up to a Canadian border check with my finger up inside her and left it there throughout the whole thing. And I loved it. Then I pulled it out and, I smelt it. And I still loved it. And then the dog smelt it. I don't know. So what? This particular time, it was a male Canadian border checker person, guy who's deciding. And we hand him her and I passports. He opens them, and then this time he did check. And this is 3 in the morning. It's late. I forget what time it is. It's dark and it's late. So we're sitting there, and it's like a drive-through window. It's a window, it's cold, it shuts, the window's small, it's got these 2 little doors that open up, and he's leaning down, talking to you and whatever. Hand him the passports, he runs them quickly, they're fast about it. And then he goes down to the questions, and we got pets. I got a dog and we didn't tell him about the turtle. But we got the dog, and I'm we have the shots, we have the dog's veterinary records. And I'm trying to hand him to this guy as he's asking me these questions. And he's just get that friend. No, I'm not looking at that. You know what I mean? And the type of people that work there, they don't take any shit. They don't give a fuck what your problems are. They don't care. They're there, you know what I mean? They're not there to be friendly. They don't want to know anything but your character, what you're doing in their country. So he's going down the list. And all this guy cares about is a pistol, a weapon, a gun. He has a hard-on for guns. I guess the country does. They do not want guns in their country. You know what I mean? Some rifles, mellow rifles. I'm talking non-ARs, non-30 round banana clips, and tripods and shit. No way. You could have a shotgun or a hunting. That is it. That's it. No pistols. Absolutely. No fucking pistols. Absolutely. This dude is going on and on. Have you ever touched a weapon? Yes. And I'm being truthful for the most part. Do you own any guns? And I'm like, yes. He's like, where are they? I'm like, they're back home in a gun safe in Wasilla, Alaska. He's just like, okay. You know what I mean? He's kind of looking at me, eyeing me up, but he's believing me, and he's giving me the benefit of the doubt because he has no reason to think I'm lying to him as of yet. So he's at least cool about that. But he's asking weird questions. Have you ever been in a vehicle with a gun? And I'm like, dude, why would you ask me that? It's impossible that I haven't been. When? He wanted to know when the last time I was around a gun and what kind of guns they were, how many were they, and how many people were around these guns. And I'm just like, I'm starting to be like, giving him like this, dude, what? And I'm like, yes, I've been around guns. Yes, I know, he's like, finally he's like, do you have any guns in your vehicle or on you? And you know what I mean? Of course I'm saying no. I'm like, no guns. He's like, you're sure? I'm like, no guns. He's like, then he asks it the same question again. Do you have any guns in your car? And I'm like, no, I don't have any guns. I don't have any guns. He's like, you're sure? If I come out there and look, you're not gonna have any guns. And you know what I mean? Like, but eventually, he goes, enjoy your trip, and he, lets us go. He didn't want to come out there, and, we were cool anyways. So off we go. Unbeknownst to him, though, I'm an Alaskan. Of course I have a gun. Are you crazy? It's her and I going on this we're going into the unknown. Yeah, I have a 40 cal, I had a 40 cal pistol, Glock. You know what I mean? Not only that, I have it loaded, one in the pipe, safety off, and it's right here. Like all I have to do is just lean forward, and there's the gun. It's like literally laying on the floor mat. It's in a holster, a Velcro, not a very fancy leather holster. It's just in a cheap, material with a Velcro strap holster. Literally right there at my feet. And that's just an Alaskan thing. Like, not so much for Canada because I knew how safe Canada was, but like just out of Canada, like I-5 North, Seattle, Tacoma. Believe it or not, that can be a very, very dangerous area. I'm cutting to a quick story about how dangerous it is. On a previous trip, about 10 years earlier, I drove to Southern California to work for one winter with the boss and his son. We drove 2 trucks from Alaska fully loaded with construction tools. We drove it all the way so we could do work in California during the winter, and it was cool. So we're making the drive. We leave Canada. We're going into Seattle. We're on I-5. We pull out at a rest stop. Gotta take a piss. It's like really late at night, and it's just sketchy already. Like, it's a sketchy. This place is not a place where you want to be. There's weirdos and homeless people and crazies and noise, and it's just not a good area. So I remember I had a skateboard at the time. I was probably 20 years old on this particular trip. Rode my skate, down the sidewalk and into the men's room to take a piss, right? I go in the bathroom and go walk up to the urinal and I start pissing. I don't know where this man enters behind me. And he's in like a lot of clothing, kind of cloakish, cape, trench coat, beard, hair, you know what I mean? Big dude, tall, comes in with these boots, it was lightly raining then. So, the noise, his boots, walking in, and I took, dark clothing. He walks in and the look on his face is what was the scariest thing. He just had this like half cheesy smile in his eyes. He was just like, you know what I mean? Just that expression the whole time. He enters the bathroom and just goes directly behind me, but like on the wall behind me, you know, probably 8-9 feet behind me, and he just leans his back against the wall and like folds his arms and then like lifts one leg and like bends it and puts the bottom of his boot on the wall down low, you know what I mean? He's just and he's leaned up against the wall and he's just grinning at the back of my head as I'm just taking a piss, you know what I mean? And it's a long piss, so this is a very awkward thing. Like, there was a mirror there where I could see, where it was a clean bathroom and the handle, the flusher, was polished, clean, so I could see the reflection of him on the urinal flush handle. And it's right away, it startled me how quickly he came in behind me, but then how he was acting, and he's just staring at me, waiting in the men's room as I'm pissing. So, okay, so the trickle's starting to peter out, and I'm starting to end my piss, right? And in my mind, I'm thinking, what's the best move here, Jack, in this situation? I wasn't really scared because we were with my boss at the time, and if you knew this guy, the most meanest, roughest, toughest, don't give a shit, kind of a hunter outdoors, I don't want to say redneck, but yeah, from Southern Cali, hunter. Like, this dude like did concrete his whole life, and he the toughest man I've ever met in my life. You know what I mean? This guy, I'll have to tell you some stories. I watched this guy have a Widowmaker jack that would jack trailers up and shit. This trailer was so loaded down with form boards and so heavy, it was propped up, you know, there was no truck attached to it, and a Widowmaker jack was still carrying the weight of the tongue of this trailer, probably a couple tons. And all of a sudden the bar just on this Widowmaker jack just slowly started falling, right? And he's near it, like with his hand on the actual big part of the jack, up high on the top of the jack. He's standing there talking to us leisurely. The bar slowly falls and goes all the way down. So on those Widowmaker jacks, high lift jacks, when the bar goes all the way down, like, it takes the weight. So when the bar goes down, it lifts the trailer up just a tiny bit. Now the bar has the entire weight of the trailer, and this thing shot up like Mach 20. Like, you couldn't even see, it was a blur how fast this bar, solid bar, shot up and collided with this man's, you know, your thumb, your bone right there, and his hand was relaxed. This bar shatters his goddamn thumb. I heard it. I heard the bones completely turn to powder in his hand, right? And he's talking, telling us what to do for the day, and he goes, oh shit, ugh. Yeah, anyway, Steven and Jack, I want you guys to get all the form boards over on the east side of here, and then I'm going to come bring the other set of form boards, and we're going to put them on this side, and hopefully you guys get the bottom row set up, and then tomorrow we'll have the whole thing done and licked, and we'll pour it tomorrow. What do you think? He stops and asks us, like, do you think that's doable? What do you think? Are you comfortable with that? Okay, so, you know, it's up, you guys delegate who wants to tie the rebar, you know, I'm out of here. He's like, no, I'm gonna go handle it. He's like, and then he looks and he goes, oh shit, and kind of does one of these, and just, that's it, doesn't yell, he's just like, shit, you know what I mean? And then just jumps in his truck and starts it and like takes a phone call and shit. This man just shattered his thumb. Really, really high tolerance for pain. The manliest fucking man I've ever met. Anyway, it was me and my high school buddy Steve, this guy was his dad, and him. So I was like, I felt, you know, I couldn't be safer if I was going to pick anybody in the world to have with me against a creepo, you know, potential threat, you know. And this guy loved me. Like, you know, he was a really good guy to me, treated me fair, and he really liked me. So we had a really good relationship. This guy would go to war for me if he needed. So I wasn't too stressed, but I'm, this fucking creep behind me staring, you know what I mean? Like, obviously he wanted to rape me. He wanted something, that was for damn sure. So I'm starting to shake my dick and like zip up, you know what I mean? Just as I pull the zipper up, the door swings open and here he comes, my boss, into the bathroom. And I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? And just the vibe that my boss gives out. It's not a mean vibe unless he has a reason to be. And I've seen it. I've seen some guy start giving him shit or pissing him off, and he had a tape measure in his hand of Stanley Fat Max just in his hand, and he swings it and hits this. I watched it hit this dude in his face with the Stanley Fat Max, holding it. Bashes this dude in the head and just fucking. This guy was big too. What was the guy's name he hit? Mickey. Some scary scrotus mother. Big guy, probably 6'4", you know what I mean? Bigger, top end guy, big feet. And my boss is not a particularly tall guy. We're even a really big guy. I mean, he's big, he's well, but he's not huge. He fucking hits this dude, Mickey, with the Stanley Fat Max, and just... It didn't knock him out, but it took him to the ground, and the guy stayed on the ground, and he didn't say another word. And the amount of respect that you instantly get when doing a move like that, unbelievable. The amount of respect that this guy had from anybody around him was really fascinating to me. You know what I mean? It really was amazing how much respect other scary big men would have for this guy, and even if they didn't know him, you know what I mean? Like you could just, I don't know what it is about psychology, but it was cool. But anyway, he walked in the bathroom and starts to take a piss. Right away, he sees the weirdo and he looks over at me and he starts smiling and he's like, "You're about to be that dude's lunch, Jackson. You're gonna be a meat popsicle," and starts laughing. You know what I mean? Right away, the dude got the point. He was disappointed. Like the dude in the trench coat was like, he was just like, and immediately leaves the bathroom. You know what I mean? And I was just like, you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? I stayed in the bathroom for like 30 seconds while, my boss was finished pissing. You know what I mean? Just so we could leave the bathroom together like a bunch of fags. But that was cool. Like, really felt safe. But yeah, that I-5 area, Tacoma, that Green River serial killer who killed like 90 women, truck driver, you know what I mean? Like, it took a lot. That's a great story too. There's a certain police officer that really took the reins on that to catch that guy. And the amount of women that guy killed, like, imagine doing it so much that it's just second nature and it's something that you have to do. Because you're so good at it, you know what to do to get away with it. That's what this killer did on I-5 in Seattle. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, I wanted my damn 40 cal with some protection for me and my girl. I just wanted it. I'm like, I'm having this. So I had a loaded 40 cal right under my seat the entire drive. Never regretted it. There's another kind of crazy story that ties into that too. In Canada, we meet this couple, but I'm doing this in chronological order. So we leave the border in Canada. Now we're in Canada, and it's still a shitty road, but drastically improving. Like, as the further we go into Canada, like, the quality of the road is ramping up. Pretty soon it's not humpy anymore. Pretty soon there's less gravel spots. Pretty soon we're on asphalt, but it's plowed, and there's like, packed half-inch layer of snow. There's still no lines. You're just driving on a soft path. You know what I mean? And we're like, woo, we're in Canada. We're looking around. It's still the same scenery as Alaska, but we're in Canada, and it's like 45 minutes to an hour to even get to a gas station or anything. And I think our first stop was like Whitehorse, Skagway, some mining town, back in the gold rush. Yukon Gold, like Whitehorse was a boom town. Boomtown. I'm talking better than Tombstone, better than San Francisco. Whitehorse had the most saloons, the gambling, the whorehouses, the rich gold town, everything you could ever want in a Wild West boomtown. Whitehorse was it. And there's a place called Diamond Tooth Gertie's. Been there since the 1800s. Gambling hall. It's famous. It's kind of it's more of a touristy thing now, you know what I mean? Because there's no cowboys and no West, but still kind of fun. But anyway, that's our first point to go to in our trip. So we're driving away, and I think we drive all day, and it's pretty much uneventful. And then it starts to get into evening time, right? Now we're into some real wilderness in the Yukon in Canada. I'm reminding you, this is December 16th-ish, and it's 40 below zero also in Canada. Of course it is. But there's so much damn snow. I'm talking 10 feet of snow that's been piled up everywhere around you here, as we're getting into this and going further into Canada. So the road is plowed, and that is it, okay? So both left and right of the vehicle is just a 10-foot berm. So you're basically driving in a tunnel without a roof, you know what I mean? The snow is so goddamn deep. And I remember a lot of the road is the road feels carved in, and you're always kind of down in the shadowy, and there's always structure, snow berms and trees and going up above you on both sides. We come to a point, right? We go around this corner, and we get to this area, and as far as you can see from where, just up in front of me is solid buffalo, like wild buffalo, completely packed shoulder to shoulder in the fucking road. And it's half a mile of buffalo in a 2-lane road with shoulders. So I mean, we're talking 20,000, 15,000 buffalo, okay? And in this buffalo's mind, they're like, all right, you assholes. It's 12 feet of snow. You think we're going to be climbing and clambering through this snow? They're like, you plowed this awesome path. They're loving it. They're like shaking. They can trot. It's all a plowed just house for them to live, basically. So these buffalo live on this road at this time of year. They're like, I'm not fucking swimming through 10 feet of snow. We're living on this road, and we're going to do our thing and eat, however they survive, I don't really know. But yeah, there's 15,000 buffalo, and, we're to the buffalo. And I'm like, looking at Sarah, and I'm like, what do we do? Like, is there a boss? Do we go up and pay some carrots to the lead guy? Or how do we get through this area? Because they're not moving. I'm like, I'm like, the buffalo aren't moving. Literally. And they're huge. They're enormous. It's 40 below. They have woolen coats and blubber. They're tremendously large, imposing buffalo. Their eyeballs are bigger than a golf ball. And the eyeballs are, sitting in the Subaru, the eyeballs are just above your head level. So you're kind of looking up at these fearsome looking beasts with these horns and just, they got snow on top of their heads and ice, and they're dingleberries from where they shit. It's 40 below, so they have to have some coat, So with their asses is just solid, like frozen urine. They're like walking around with a 30-pound block of hair it's frozen solid. You know what I mean? Because at 40 below, shit freezes instantly. So they're pissing on their fur, and it's freezing. It's kind of crazy. And they're dingleberry turds hanging down like stalactites in a cave. All that crap on them at least weighs 100 pounds. And they're living with it. They're like, yeah, that's part of my wardrobe. And they don't give a shit that I'm there. So what choice do? I put it in first gear, and I just nestle bump my way through these buffalo, and I'm praying to God they don't They don't jam a horn through my window or kick the radiator, tire. Imagine them knocking out all 4 tires and in the middle of this, you couldn't open your door. You're packed in with buffalo. I'd have to fight with them. Plus, I wouldn't want to be that tight. How am I going to change a tire in buffalo? I'd have to sit there and wait for another car to come push me. I don't know what the hell I'd do. Because there's no cell phones. You think a cell phone tower exists out there? Hell no. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have cell phones for another, I think, 2 days. So I'm like, what else are we gonna do? So she's recording with her phone, and I'm like fighting my way in this car through Buffalo, and I'm like bumping into them, and they're like mooing, like, ugh, you know what I mean? But they're tolerating it. They're like, okay, this is, obviously I'm not the first car to have to do this. So they saunter out of the way. What are they gonna do? I'm driving into them. You know what I mean? And I'm bumping them. I'm being as respectful as I can. I respect these animals. They're wild creatures living in the Yukon at 40 bucks. They're not no weak animals. These are some of the toughest animals you're gonna see. To try to take down one of these things, well, you'd need like the elephant rifle. They're super beasts, immense creatures, and they're imposing, and they're majestic, and they're beautiful, and I believe they need to be left alone and respected. That's how I thought about it. But I still need to continue on with our journey. I got my I got my finger in her twat. We need to roll. So I'm bumping through it, and this is forever. We're going around bends and solid buffalo. Dingleberries are scraping on the wind, you know what I mean? But they're all respectful. All the buffalo are respectful. Every one of them turn and look us in the eyes as we're going. At least me. They look Sarah too, but mainly, they make eye contact, and I looked at them, and I rolled the window down halfway too, so there was no hindrance. I was connecting with these creatures, and they looked in my soul, and the expressions that we made, it was like 2 men with respect. You know what I mean? I'm like going by, and I'm like giving them a look like, hey guys, I don't mean to bump you out of the way. You can be on the road. I'm cool with you. Please don't kick out my radiator so we have to freeze to death. You know what I mean? And, we're getting through this buffalo. It's like 10 minutes go by, and we're still in buffalo. You can't see in front of you. You can't see anything. There's buffalo, so, you're packed. Literally tight. There's no space. It's standing room only at this buffalo concert. But they're all being cool. Some of them moo. There's little ones. There's mamas. And surprisingly enough, it was warm. Like, I had to reach down and turn the heater off because there was heat. Like, this area was warm. So what they did worked. Nestled down in the snow cut. Some of them would moo. My shit definitely scratched, but I didn't mind. They scratched my car a little bit, but I didn't care. And they were slowly making way for me to get through them. And then finally, we get to the buffalo, and it's kind of funny because at the end, there's all the like degenerates. Some of them are skinny. Some of them have 3 legs. Some of them are missing fur. Some of them have their head turned and like their tongue hanging out. Looks like their head's put on upside down. They're like, ugh! Like the fucking degenerates and rejects are all kept in the back. And some, believe it or not, there was a few frozen with their feet up. Like their back was on the ground and their hooves is shivering up in the air. Dead. They kind of just put the fucking, get out in the back. Get in the back of the line, you retards. So that was kind of sad to see. They really were kind of miserable. And it wasn't like they were close. Like they made them go way out. So like we left the herd of buffalo, and then there's stragglers, and there's like, now there's walking room. It's not standing room anymore. You can walk. And the buffalo are slowly thinning out. And then there's like a gap. And then you get to the rejects. They're like, we don't even want you guys near us. You know what I mean? Some of them are frozen to the ground. Like, you know, or driving by and he's like pulling at his hoof, like frozen to the earth with piss and shit. He's like, I'm frozen here. How can I eat? I don't know. I kind of feel bad on this one. Should I have stopped and chiseled his hooves free of the earth? I mean, obviously he was drinking milk, like some straggler, you know, reject mama was throwing him a tin of warm milk. Or, I don't really know, but I know those buffalo were in very bad shape. They were outcasted. They were not comfortable in any sorts. They needed direct medical attention. And I felt bad for him, you know. But that ends the buffalo scene. And now we're on open road again. So we're like, yeah, you know, I'm zooming up to 60 or whatever. We're still naked, mind you. We get naked together. You know, we smoke a little bit of weed. You know, again, this girl, Saritha Chris, and I are, and we're bonding more than ever on this trip. Like, I'd been with her a year and 4 months so far. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we knew each other very well. And you know what's funny is I almost married her too. You know, we lived together at my house in Wasilla, Alaska. One day, I got out of the house, got in my car, this very car right here, started it, and I was going to drive to her father's house, who lived not far away. I was going to drive, and I was going to ask him if I had his permission to marry his daughter. You know what I mean? I got out in the car, I started it, and I just sat in the car, and for some reason, this is kind of odd, I don't even know why. For some reason, I never put the car in drive and went there. I didn't go to Mike's house and say, hey, Mike, you know, he knew me at this time. We had a relationship. You know, I was a little bit older than her. You know, the answer would have been a reluctant yes. You know what I mean? He would have said, I know he would have said yes. I wouldn't have gone and asked him if I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Oh, shit, I missed it. Now I'm on Highway 50. I should have been on 80. Let's see, what should I do? Yeah, I just got out of the car and went back in the house and didn't ask to marry Sarah. Which was, I don't know, part of me feels it was foolish that I didn't ask her to marry her because she was, you know, in this day and age, the women are so disagreeable. You know, like my standards, like my demands in another woman, you know what I mean? I'm sort of with this girl who's 10 years older than me now, and our relationship's in absolute chaos and turmoil. It's horrible. But she's the most disagreeable person ever. Doesn't matter whatever you say, she's arguing. That's how it is. It sucks. So Sarah was so agreeable. Didn't matter what was going on in my life. I was with my friends. Doesn't matter what I was doing. Sarah was with me. Sarah was right here, always next to me, in my pickup truck, sitting, you know, riding next to me. My road dog, smile on her face. I was the captain of the ship. Doesn't matter, and to me either. Like, it didn't matter what we were doing, and I've especially felt this way in Northern California, especially towards the end, right before, you know, the months preceding our breakup. Like, all that mattered in my life, like, I could be in the most horrendous spot, broke, homeless, have nothing, you know what I mean? As long as I had Sarah, I was golden, and I wholeheartedly felt that way, because as long as I had her, you know, with me, that's all that mattered, because she was that amazing of a person, you know what I mean? And I hope she's that amazing still to whoever. I think she got married, and I hope their marriage is good, you know what I mean? Because she's just an amazing person. She's such a good human with the most awesome, lighthearted, fun intentions, and just her attitude and just likability, how agreeable she was, you know what I mean? She just made you feel so good, and everything that left that woman, either out of her mouth, whatever it was, even her urine and feces was with love and had good intentions. Whatever came from that girl, 100% had good intentions. And that's really, really rare to find nowadays. Impossible to find. This was 2013. You know, I in a sense didn't deserve her. In a sense, because that's how awesome she was. She just the best human being ever. Made me feel amazing all times. You know, never ever tried to make me feel bad, which is what I have now in a girlfriend. That's all she does. This girl I'm with, all she does is live to make me feel badly. My own fault. My own fault for putting myself in this position and allowing it to be there. So I'm not going to whine or cry about it. I'm just going to be sad about Sarah. Not sad. I look on these memories with great, great, great fondness. You know, and they were awesome memories, especially, you know, some of the stuff I'm going to tell you guys about this trip is truly going to be amazing, and you're not even going to believe, especially when we get to the hot springs and we go into this, like, closed down for the season hot springs in the Yukon, Canada. Still 40 below, like there's not a human being in existence within 45 minutes of her and I at this hot spring. But that's a story proceeding after a couple other good stories I want to tell you. And this last story I'm going to close out with right before we get to Whitehorse. And this is like mid-afternoon, like noontime, bright, sunny, you know, it's a nice day. Straight stretch of highway, I'm driving, and like I come to this area in the road, and I'm looking up ahead, and I'm like, what's that in the road? It's like, imagine like it's called a ptarmigan, a wild chicken, a spruce hen. It's all it is a wild chicken. It's a flightless bird. It's a piece of shit, annoying, dumb bird. You know what I mean? And I'm looking ahead, and I can see the profile of it, and this is just weird because I'm on a highway that just split, and now I'm like in my own section, and then there's another section next to me, still going the same direction. It's just weird. I'm just not used to this. It hasn't been here, but so I'm seeing this chicken, and I'm doing 80, I'm doing 70 in this car, and I'm approaching this chicken, and I'm like, yep, that's a ptarmigan, that's a spruce, that's a wild chicken, and it was a fat boy too. And I'm like, oh man. And how it was is it was right in the groove of the road where my tire would be. So I would literally go plow and drive over this ptarmigan, right? So I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to go left a little bit, and the ptarmigan was going to go right down the car, right between the tires. I was just going to drive right over it. Easy peasy. Hey, I don't mean you know what I mean? Like I was just going to go over the ptarmigan. I couldn't slam on the brake. You know, what am I going to do? That was the best route for me, is just to steer to the left a little bit and then have it go underneath the car, right? I'm about 20 feet from going over this wild chicken. The damn thing jumps in the air. It just like senses I'm coming. It goes, woo! And like launches itself 3 feet off the pavement, right? So it launches it goes up and peaks, you know what I mean? Now it starts to fall and go back down, right? I'm like, why would you jump now? On its way down, I plow into it, doing 70 miles an hour, and that damn bird, it's fat, goes shatters 40 below, shatters the grill to my car, boom, plastic, you know what I mean? And goes all the way to the radiator, and wham, hits the radiator to my car, and just sticks, just, you know, it's stuck there, blood and like this mist of guts, and you know, and I'm just like, damn it, why would this thing jump then? You know what I mean? It was just like, I still to this day can't believe it jumped and did so much horrific damage to my car. And you you guys, so my car's damaged now, right? And we're going into Whitehorse, and that's where I'm going to end this story at. And the next story, I'm going to pick up what happens after that, and I'm going to start from Whitehorse, proceeding on. Don't miss it. I got all the stories. The stories in this series are just going to ramp up like this in interest and just craziness and just unbelievable, crazy stories. Funny, scary, sad, happy. And that's where I'm going to pick up on part 2 of Jack's Alaskan Travelage. I'm going to have to come up with a good name of this. Maybe you guys can leave some comments for me and help me come up with a stellar name of like the great travel to, you know, like, I don't know. I'm going to give it some thought. And, you know, thanks for hearing my story. More to come. Have a good day, guys. Be safe out there. Be safe and happy. Find people, hang out with people that you like. Please do that. Adios.